spiritual life is not the only important area of our life, but it is the most important area of our life because it affects every other area that is important. And so if I'm going to experience a quantum leap anywhere, one of the first areas, or the first area I want to experience a quantum leap is in the area of my spirituality. This third law says this, law of agitation. God will create a divine dissatisfaction with what you have in order to create a desire for what you need. Did you hear what I just said? God will make us unsettled in something we previously settled for. One writer calls this a holy discontent. It is not a lack of contentment in a literal sense, but it is a divine agitation, because your unique agitation is a reflection of your unique assignment. What does that mean? It means that your purpose and my purpose is an answer to a problem. And so God will uniquely agitate you with the problems you've been created to solve. It means that two of us can walk in a room and see the same problem, and it break your heart in a way that it doesn't break my heart. And it doesn't mean I don't have compassion. And it doesn't mean I don't love Jesus. It may mean, just like we see in the scriptures, that the reason Goliath agitated David in such a unique way, because David was assigned to knock that giant down. Come on, we remember the story. I mean, Goliath is insulting all of Israel. David's like, hey, my dad just gave me some Chick-fil-A to bring to my brothers on the front line. And David's dropping off the Chick-fil-A, and then he hears this Philistine, and I can see David, he's dropping the food off and say, then looking at Israel say, y'all don't hear that? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that dares to defy the armies of the living? There was a unique agitation. Because very often frustration is an indication that God wants us to do something about the thing that's frustrating us. Listen to me. On the end of every great, on the other side of every great assignment is unique agitation. That some of the greatest blessings that have been created were the result of burdens that people felt. If I'm making sense, say yes. Yeah, if I want to experience a quantum leap, I've got to understand and embrace the law of adjustments, understand and embrace the law of appetites, understand and embrace the law of agitation. And this passage that I just read in John 10:10 is a powerful picture of all three of these laws at work. In John 10:10, you see Jesus putting into practice all three of these laws. He's attempting to arrange a quantum leap in the most significant area of our life, and that's the spiritual arena. Our spiritual life is not the only important area of our life, but it is the most important area of our life because it affects every other area that is important. And so if I'm going to experience a quantum leap anywhere, one of the first areas, or the first area I want to experience a quantum leap is in the area of my spirituality. I want to go from faith to faith. I want to go from fervor to fervor. I want to go from glory to glory. I want to go from Jacob to Israel. I want to go from Abram to Abraham. I want to go from Sarai to Sarah. Come on. I want a quantum leap. And this text in John 10:10 is a powerful picture of all three of these laws at work. We get to eavesdrop on a conversation where Jesus is modeling the law of adjustment, appetite, and agitation. Listen to what he says. He says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. There's a lot to be said about that because he uses the dominant descriptor here, thief, to describe Satan. He says, it's the only way he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I want you to see what he says on the back end. He says, but I've come that you may have life and have it to the full. Now, this is what makes this profound to me. It's not just what Jesus said. That's profound. But it's even more profound because of who Jesus said it to. Can I tell you who he said it to? We're about to get deep. Don't drown. Can I tell you who he said it to? Hold your breath. We're getting ready to go deep. All right? He said it to people who were alive. You're like, that wasn't deep. I know. He says, I've come that you might have life and have it to the full. But he says it to people who aren't dead. So they're alive already. They have life, right? So I said, let me do some research here, right? Because the Old Testament is primarily written in Hebrew, except for a few chapters in Daniel. They're written in Aramaic, and New Testament is written primarily in Greek. So I said, let me do some research here because this is not making sense. And what I began to see is what I saw in terms of the word that Jesus used. It surprised me because I was looking for a word like bio or bios, right? Like, I've come that you might have bio or bios. It was another word, and that word was zoe. Life as your creator intended. Listen, when you get better spiritually, everything get better. Spiritual life is not the only important part of your life. It is the most important part of your life because it affects every other part that's important. But you don't get stronger spiritually accidentally. It takes intentionality. You need to get fed, and you got to learn how to understand, how to interpret, how to apply, and how to explain the Bible. The Bible's the blueprint to your best life. And I'm going to tell you, Sunday's not enough to give you the tools that you need to get better with the Bible. I want you to join me in my community called Bible U, where I help you take your understanding, your application, and your explanation of the Bible to another level. Here's the way one writer frames it. Jesus didn't just come to seek and save those who were lost. He says Jesus came to seek and save the life that was lost. That there's a life that the Creator intended for us to live, and that life makes us the light of the world. That life makes us the salt of the earth. That life is what makes Zacchaeus climb a tree. That life is what makes Nicodemus come to Jesus at night and say, you must come from God, because no one can do the things that you do unless God be with him. It's Zoe. Jesus is emphasizing a life that is not merely about physical existence, but accomplishes a spiritually abundant dimension, a quality of life that cannot be obtained or experienced independent of the leadership in Jesus. In other words, Jesus is saying to them, you got the bio, but you need a quantum leap to Zoe. Now, here's what's also interesting. Are y'all ready for this part? I'm not convinced. I said, are y'all ready for this part? Okay. He not only says this to people who are alive, he's saying this to people who are religious. He's not talking to Gentiles here. Am I making sense? This is he's saying to people who are probably assuming, because I've got spirituality, I'm better off than most. And they may be right. Maybe they are better off than most. But the challenge with that perspective is they're comparing themselves to others, as opposed to comparing their state to their potential. And God never compares us to others or encourages us to compare ourselves to others, but we've got to compare our current state to our potential. And it is like Jesus is saying, because you have some measure of spirituality, or you have progressed in your spiritual journey. Yes, you are better than most, but better than most doesn't mean as good as you can be. And he says, I came to give you a holy discontent. I came to agitate you. I came to adjust your appetite. I came to let you know there's more. I came to let you know that peace that passes all understanding can be more than a scriptural proclamation. It could be a realized experience in your life. He said, I came to let you know that you can wake up and say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Jesus is basically exposing them to the reality that although they are practicing spirituality, are y'all ready for this? The way in which they're practicing it has taken them as far as it can take them. The law has done for you all it can do. If you want Zoe, you've got to transition from the law and you've got to embrace me. And it is not that what you have been doing in the past is wrong. The law was given by God for a specific dispensation. Paul said it was our schoolmaster, our babysitter, to babysit us until Jesus came. But Jesus says to them, now that I am here, I need you to reimagine the way you've been practicing your spirituality, because the way you've been practicing it has taken you as far as it can take you.